Hello, everyone. First, thank you for being here, for being invited to this conference. So, as the presentation wasn't done enough, so it's a bit of advertisement for my book, very short released. The first thing I want to explain about MCP, maybe just a quick survey. Who has ever used MCP in the room? Okay, who built the server with MCP? And who is in production for that? Yes, that's it. I want to step back a bit before starting, because that's a hype protocol, right? But if you want to understand why it's hype, you have to start very back. Yeah, I'm 20 years. 20 years was like when I was 18. Yeah, something like that. So if you just born in the 80s, 90s, you know about e-commerce was this, which is receiving a catalog by post. And if you want to buy something, you have to send back a small card by the post too. And that's very interactive. You can release something every 4 months, basically. And receiving the item you ordered by post is maybe 1 month late. And you don't know about the stock, so sometimes you just don't receive it, basically. So we invented in France a very quick and dirty stuff, which is called the Minitel, if you know that again. And the interactivity was back. So we can just go in the Minitel and just look at the inventory live, which is like revolutionary. And this is why it lasts so long. But we prefer the internet. And in the internet, what is very nice is from one day to the other, you can just connect back and the catalog just updated. And your real stock, real inventory is live. And so you can order and you can also start to have discounts. So you see, you can start to reach your customer in different way. And what is very important is that we want to invest in that. We want also to give the customer the capability to also contribute. So this is why we invented the Web 2.0. And we created the beginning of the voice of customer, where the customer is also giving back. So we went to the moment where all of that was not really user-centric. And we started to invest into bringing the user to the UX era, where we expect the user love our product. So we invest a lot. We try to understand, okay, how can I do so my customer love my product? And this is a lot of stuff and investment, not only the design, but also brand awareness. If you go in the street and there is one window that is open and you heard, ta-dam, you might be knowing which kind of media this person is looking for and is currently looking at the TV. And this is because we have created a brand awareness so nicely that even a sound can just remind you about the brand. So what we have been doing in the last 15 years is creating the moment where we invested for visibility, brand awareness, UX, and distribution channel. And mostly this created, I would say, most of the startup ecosystem for the last 15 years, all of this investment. And one day, a small company came and say, you know, UX, that's nothing. And we started to get back to the CLI system, which is just a chatbot. And now people are starting to interact with that. And after we spend this money for building the best experience ever, they just go in a CLI mode and they type a few text, and they love it. So there is a question behind that, is why? Why people love that? I tried to abstract that a bit, and my conclusion was that in the end, in 2000, we started with business centricity. And business centricity is the IKEA mode, where you enter into the shop and you never can go out without walking across the full shop. It's a kind of dark pattern, right? And this is the same with Amazon. It's the Black Friday. You want to buy socks and you end up by ordering a dishwasher. This is my life. And so, yeah, we say user centricity, but the real stuff is that it's also for the same purpose, which is catching the user. Come back, buy, come on. So intent centricity, why it happens? Because when you ask a question, if you ask, what is the capital of Paris? ChatGPT answers this, of France. This answer in the question. Like very political. Then GPT say, hey, it's Paris. And it say, hey, it's Paris, but you know, TripAdvisor can bring you on there. No, it just answers, it's Paris. And people already get used to this very simplicity of getting an answer, right? So I have been asking, what can I be looking for the e-commerce in this new world? And I think the experience is this. I want to buy a cup, nowhere. So this is the experience. Is it lovable? I don't believe so. And the real question is, how do you fix that? And then MCP, at some point, was part of the solution for that, because MCP started to say, look, instead of just giving you the context and giving you a list of stuff you can find on my MCP server, I will give you the UI too. That was back in July, which is like a year, 6 months after the beginning of the protocol, which is a life in the protocol life, because the protocol is just 1 year now. And this was the first experience, but everyone say, UI, I don't believe it's gonna work. I don't believe people are gonna adopt that. And then the small company again came back and say, yes, we want to do that. And we released this kind of experience. Oh yeah. This is the video that is missing the access. So we release this kind of experience inside ChatGPT. So how does it work? You go in GPT and you say, TheFork, can you please find me a restaurant? Well, please, it's not mandatory. TheFork, can you find me a restaurant in Paris? And we will just pop up this interface inside ChatGPT, so you can directly select. What is cool? First thing, we don't need you to download any app. If you know about, you should just buy a ticket in EasyJet. And you remember that if you want to have your boarding pass, you need to download this app. And it's always the moment where the Wi-Fi is not working, neither the connection. With ChatGPT, you have a very low bandwidth situation where you can just ask EasyJet, can you give me my boarding pass? And it will just appear the boarding pass. And so we enter in this new world where the fragmented web is starting. So there is a very famous cartoon that was released on LinkedIn, which is about MCP builders, because the state MCP is probably the only piece of tech that are more builders than users. And you see, maybe you have been using it and build it, but going to production is something different. That is totally changing the shape of the market in the next 2 years. And I believe this is why, right now, enterprise need to have an MCP strategy. So the idea here is to give you the key and to go for the success in deployment. Why? What is MCP? We try to fix some problem. Okay, so to make an AI agent useful, we need context. But RAG, and it stands for states that any project that goes with AI, only 5% of them have been successfully released. So what we try to do there is to give some data to the agent. Then, if you have the context now, what we need to make the agent useful is to perform actions. And this is why we want to connect the agent to our IPAs. Then, how can we do that? So basically, the first answer from everyone was, just use our SDK. The OpenAI SDK brings you the tools and everything you need for creating the situation where the agent has both the context but also can activate your own API calls, which is cool. So why do we need MCP then? Well, I'll give you this example, which is what happened in TheFork. So we have a few services, and we want to connect that to a few different agents from all partnerships. And each of them, they come with, this simple thing. Yeah, it's very simple. Just take the SDK and implement it. If you just compute it, you have 40 connectors. So the solution they say is, well, why do you work with the others? Just choose one. No, I don't want that. What I want is MCP, or I'm missing DT. So MCP is exactly that. With MCP, which is like a kind of USBC, the protocol that a lot of people love, but Apple. And the idea is that with the MCP, you can just connect directly your services to your agents. And because it's standard, if each of the SDK right now, they implement MCP, so you don't have to code like these 40 connectors. You just have to directly wire with the MCP protocol all of your APIs. Is it MCP for you? That can be a question. The first thing is, do you have customers? And the second one is, do you have employees? And you see, that's a very complex situation. First one, do you have customers? Yes, you need MCP. Second one, you have employees? Again, yes, you need MCP. Why? Because if you have customers, what you want maybe is to ship a new way of interacting with your application, your B2C commerce or B2B, inside an agent. Why? Because we won't be the one who will be coding the agent. You just keep OpenAI on anyone you love, access your MCP, and so your users are super happy because they can use their own tool, and they access your data, and they have the full insight. Major MCP server, Notion. Every time I go in the morning in the office, I just go to ChatGPT and ask, okay, can you summarize what happened in my Notion yesterday? And I get with a super summary of what is happening. It's super nice, it goes super fast, and it's what I want. If you have employees, that's the same. I'm not sure I want anyway go in the company now that will tell me you need to use Workday, because that's a helpful experience. So what happened? What I expect from my next employer is that I come with an agent, like ChatGPT or whatever, and I can just say, I want to do my time tracking, look at my Jira, look at this, and this, and do my time tracking for me. So you have two kinds of different use cases, which is the customer base, what you want to ship to your customer, and how to improve productivity at scale. In the last year, MCP was released 24th November last year, which is like a year ago, exactly. And everyone have been mostly moving to MCP in July. So right now, and just Saturday, because the timeline with MCP is always moving faster and faster, OpenAI agreed with the other from the MCP community to bring application in standard what called MCP apps. So right now, you have most of the major agents on the market that are implementing MCP. And what will be very important is to look at what will happen in the future. So I have a few bets on that. The first one is MCP will rule the world. Is it the best protocol? Maybe not. But one of the shitty protocol is SMTP. Is SMTP still there? Yes. Did we create €1 billion of revenues every year with SMTP? Yes. Do we have a lot of ecosystem that is trying to fix SMTP for the 20 last year? Again, yes. So there is no limitation. The real question is adoption. Now the adoption is done, MCP will go. Second, what we need now, that we have this foundation, which is the MCP stuff. We need domain specific. And this is where your role starts. Now, the foundation is there. So by vertical, you will need a specific extension to the protocol. I give you the example of the e-commerce, which ChatGPT, again, OpenAI, started with ACP, which is Agentic Commerce Protocol. What I try to do is how can we just superset the MCP protocol so we can ship the e-commerce experience. So how do you normalize a way to transmit a shopping cart? How do you fill the order with items and so on? And this is where you expect to go. Next, new devices, because consuming this new kind of application will come with new devices. You already have seen what happened with Ray-Ban glasses. And the last one is, if we fragment the web and we just ship a part of experience inside ChatGPT, you can expect that to come also with the app. So maybe tomorrow you will have your apps directly in your phone that will be communicating with your agent locally. So what is your roadmap to this new world? Super apps. If you want to go in this direction, you know WeChat. WeChat is the China super app where you can do everything. So they're going to be one in Western. And for going there, what you need is design. The first thing you need to know is you don't build MCP like an API. Everyone that tell you, oh, just wrap up your API. That's super simple. No, don't do this. Don't go there. Take your user in account from the beginning. So your API, you have to build them in a way that it's fulfill the user intent, their main intent, what they want to achieve. If they want to book a restaurant, you don't go with an API that will first ask the user to enter the postal code, the zip code. So you don't want that because you won't have 3 calls to the agent. If the agent do 3 calls, might be failing for the second one, so it's over. So just try to focus on the intent. Also create ownership in your company to the code base. So people ask to know what that's really like the data, basically. You want that is super domain specific. Second, authentication. I would say currently, none of the company I know use the standard de facto that is for MCP, which is the OAuth 2.1. So you have to anticipate if you want to go there. And right now, average project for changing the authentication layer in a company is 6 months. So imagine if you don't start right now, well, you can build the MCP in 24 hours. And then you cannot deploy it because you don't have the authentication stack. Second, you have to think a lot about the way you let an agent access your data, what you want your agent to let the agent do or not. So you have to build a very strict fine-grained authentication level. Then you have to keep updated with security. There are plenty of papers. Because MCP is new, the surface for attack is super high. So just go try to understand what could happen wrong. And there is plenty of things. Next, the same data, evaluation, observability. You need to understand. You need to find out what the major people will be using. So you write a prompt that is the common one for your user, and you see if this is calling the right tool, if it's calling the right action, delivering the right data for you. Sometimes I have seen some team that just start to create here and there some competing tool description. So the LLM in the end is like, okay, should I use this one or this one? And mostly it doesn't go well. And implement observability from the beginning. You need to understand what are the people doing with your tool. So you need to log that, analyze, and iterate. Then user experience. You want to prepare the best user experience for your user in the chatbot, which is totally different from UX design, basically. And what you know is that the chatbot is your friend. In this specific situation, when you ship like a UI to ChatGPT, GPT does see what is the data behind the UI, and you can interact with that. So for example, I can ship a list of restaurants that I want to find, the 10 best one, and I can say, give the menu also. And the user can ask, okay, I'm vegetarian, what is the best one? And GPT will analyze the menu of each of the restaurants by itself and say, choose this one. That's the best choice for you. So it's your new peer, and you have to learn how to work with GPT. And the last thing is, most of the people say, knows the MCP for the tools. And I was the one, it's not only that. Yeah. So the real stuff is look at that, and this is the support. So currently, for sure, it's a new protocol, and the adoption is not yet totally equal by the on the client side. So you have to monitor what your user will be actually using as a client, and really like fact check if you can use or not specific functionality. That's all for it today. As a part of the MCP Enterprise Interest Group leader, you can also reach me if you have some specific use case and you don't know how to go with that, because I'm trying to do the bridge between the community and the enterprise. And thank you a lot.